I'm going to be showing you a quick and effective way of debadging your car. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because on my vehicle here, you can see on this panel, it is so scratched up. Now I want to do a proper job. I want to get all the badges off and give it a decent polish. I don't want to have to go around it. Why? Because I could potentially shred up the pad, and also it doesn't really look nice because there's a lot of hard water which is just sat in some of these crevices. So it's a good idea to get the badges off, polish a nice level panel, and then we can stick them back on afterwards. The first plan of action is to remove this badge by heating it up with a hairdryer or a heat gun. Now the reason why I'm going to be doing this is because that badge has been stuck onto the paintwork with double-sided tape. So we want to break it down, and what happens is once you heat up the badge, you start heating up the glue underneath. It becomes so soft you can literally easily just get it off, and then after that I'm going to show you the next step.
Here I'm just holding it on for a few minutes until it feels hot to touch.
Lovely. Next plan of action, grab yourself some dental floss. Doesn't matter what brand you use, it probably will snap a few times over, so you might need to double up. And all we're going to do now is just stick the floss under there and go nice and easy, and you'll see it's literally just cutting through like a hot knife on butter. If you get to a point where you're thinking it's just not going to go through, then just carry on heating it up a bit longer. Bearing in mind it does take slightly longer if you're going to be using a hairdryer instead of using a heat gun. That should do it. And just go through it again. This is such a stubborn badge. I tell you what, this is the only bit of this Kia that isn't falling to bits. There we go. Right, you can clearly see that we've removed the badge, but we still have to deal with this residue on here. Now, the next step I would honestly recommend is breaking out the heat gun or the hairdryer once again, because now you've done the hard bit of removing that badge, we just need to get rid of this last bits of residue here. So what happens is, as soon as you heat this up, you can just pick it off quite easily when it gets super hot, and you can kind of just roll it with your fingers. So it's always a good idea to wear gloves. You do have to be very careful of blistering though, because that is a common thing that can occur. So there is an element of danger to this. So it's definitely not something I'm going to recommend to everybody. Now, alternatively, you could go out and purchase a thing called a toffee wheel, which basically goes onto a drill. It's like a giant rubber. It spins at a very fast rate and it can remove it pretty quickly. And then last but not least, you've got a tar and glue remover. Basically, you can spray it, let it dwell, and it will break down some of that residue, and you can wipe it away with an old rag.
For the second time today, I'm using the hairdryer, and as you can see, as it heats up the glue, you can almost roll it like a snowball as it gets bigger. But I couldn't quite get it all off, so I moved on to something to give it some extra bite.
One thing I want to add to this, if you are using tar and glue remover, actually, even if you're not using tar and glue remover, chuck that cloth straight into the bin. Don't use it ever again. The reason being is, number one, if you do use this tar and glue remover, you're going to find that these chemicals are so harsh, are so hazardous. The last thing you want to be doing is putting that in the washing machine with your clothes or your children's clothes, and then you're just going to contaminate everything and you're going to contaminate the environment. So it's not a good thing to do. You've also got to bear in mind that if you're just trying to wipe this away, look, you're going to get chunks of glue within that cloth. You can't use it ever again. You may as well just chuck it in the bin and be done with it. Right, now assuming you've followed on everything that I've just done, you should have similar results to this, but you're probably going to notice, if you look very closely, you can see the pattern where the badge was. Now, a lot of the time, those marks are purely just down to being water spots, because we can wash our car millions of times over, but I can pretty much guarantee there's only going to be a tiny 0.1% of you who are going to stick a car dryer in all the emblems and blast every single droplet of water out. In fact, if we look here, you can see that exact thing has happened, because you wash your car, you dry it, but you don't always have time to get around and do all the little nooks and crannies. So that's why we get hard water build-up, and that's what we're going to try and tackle now. I mean, some of you might be happy with that, and you might just say it's perfect anyway, but for me, I just want to take it one step further, because I know that we can sort this out, and it only takes like a couple of seconds. So I've used a bit of medium compound from Svizzer. Really good, by the way. I used it on some other panels on this car, which you will be seeing in the next video. And all we're just going to do is work it in. Now, if you don't have a machine polisher, like I'm literally just using this old rag, because I know I'm going to go over it at a later date with the polisher, so I'm really not that fussed. But normally, you would take another applicator pad and another cloth and just go over it again. Good as new. So there you go, it took a couple of minutes at best. Now, if you love videos like this and you want to find out the ultimate way of cleaning glass with no car cleaning chemicals whatsoever and perfect streak-free glass in the direct sunlight, then make sure you go and watch this video right here.